Step right up, folks. You're now entering It's a Circus, where parenting isn't always a show-stopping act, but it's certainly entertaining. I'm your host, Elsa, here to prove that no one really knows what they're doing, and that's perfectly fine. Let's have some real conversations, peel back the layers, and remind you that you're never alone in the madness. Let's get the show rolling. Well, that is a wrap on season 1 of It's a Circus. And we've had 9 episodes and 9 guests, including my husband. But I just kind of want to wrap it up with a little recap from this season. This is really a special season, 1, because it's my first, and 2, everyone that came on was helping me practice, as well as willing to open up and be vulnerable without even knowing what would be out there into the world. So I am just incredibly indebted to each one of these people that have given me the honor to share their story on this platform. And I know for sure the stories have impacted you because I've heard that. So thank you for your support. And I am so excited to recap some of my favorite moments from each episode. First up is Crystal. I had shared before, but I'll share again here. Crystal and I had worked together. And when I say this woman is a powerhouse, I mean in every way, on every level. And I knew her before we were parents, and we were deep in our careers and very, very focused on that time in our lives. And it was really fun to reconnect after we both had some kiddos and talk about just how life is now and how it changed, because her and I really shared an intensity and passion for our career currently, but also at that time together. And that was really fun to see. Her motherhood and parenthood journey is much different than I think the norm, which was a wonderful way to kick off this season. And I just, again, want to shout out Crystal for being very honest, very vulnerable, very open about her process, because we all know that no matter how you get to motherhood, it is a journey, and it will test you in ways that you never knew you could be tested. And she really walks us through that with her articulate, to the point, wonderful way of explaining her experience. So here are a few of my favorite moments from Crystal.
My mom has actually made me a much better employee, manager, peer, all those things, because it just contextualizes actual stress and actual stakes. And when, there's something small at work, you're obsessing over a deck, and you're like, I used to just obsess over it and think about it all the time. And now it's you know what? This is great. We're good enough. We don't need to keep revving on this. Let's get this ship. Let's get this out the door. Or this is not as life-threatening as we're acting like it is, because you just have real stakes at home. And so I feel like it's actually taken my stress level down and my anxiety level at work down. I've just got the steadiest hand, because everything feels like it's low stakes. And not saying that you should lean back from work at all. That's not it. But it just kind of helps contextualize. And so when you can be that steady hand in the room, I actually think it gives you the upper hand on a lot of things. I held a lot of shame around surrogacy. I still do sometimes. And so I just didn't want to go shopping, because I felt like everyone was looking and oh, she doesn't have a belly. Or I didn't want to wear a hospital gown, because I was I'm not actually giving birth, and all this stuff. I held a lot of shame around surrogacy. I still do sometimes. And so I just didn't want to go shopping, because I felt like everyone was looking and oh, she doesn't have a belly. Or I didn't want to wear a hospital gown, because I was I'm not actually giving birth, and all this stuff. And I felt like I was actually very shameful of my body. And now I wish I had just honestly just been tits out with skin to skin contact right away. Right. And gone and done the shopping, and who the fuck cares who's if you're gonna judge me,
yes,
you know what I mean, get fucked, Yeah. I wish I would have just been more less self-conscious on the whole thing. Totally. And it's kind of interesting because I actually had a hard time accepting help at first. Like I took a lot of advice beforehand, but one of our neighbors dropped off some groceries for us. And I was like, it was just great. It was all this food that was just like ready to eat and healthy and yummy. And I was like, at the time I was just like subsiding on like protein shakes. And I was like, Maddie, like I was like in tears. These pre-made salads are so amazing. I was like, like, I should be able to do all this because like I didn't carry. So like it shouldn't be hard on. And she was like, carrying has nothing to do with like, she's like, sure, yes, of course there's a recovery and that's hard, but like you're caring for a newborn, like that's hard regardless. Like don't have this expectation that you should be like cooking dinner every night and making fresh lunches and like still working out and all of this just because you didn't actually carry the pregnancy. Like you're taking care of a newborn that's crying because they're hungry every 2 hours. Like that's enough to take out anybody. And like hearing that was like, okay, yeah, actually this is hard. This is hard. Like it's hard.
Next up, we have Neda. She and I worked together at a med spa. She was providing the treatments and I was selling the treatments. And she is amazing. And what really kind of brought us together more closely was realizing that we were pregnant at the same time with our first and then pregnant at the same time with our second. Her kiddos are 17 months apart and mine are 14 months apart. And it was just really fun having somebody go through what felt like a very similar journey and kind of like our worries and whatnot. She is my girl for questions, and I love finding out all of the things that she's doing with her kiddos for ideas to do with mine and just her thoughts around all things. So when I started this podcast, thinking about my experience, she was one of the first people I thought of that I definitely want to get on here and talk about the experience that she had because of that closeness. I desperately wish we were living closer together. I would hang out with her all the time and our kiddos would be best friends. She has some amazing insights and I love everything that she shared on our conversation. Without further ado, here's my favorite parts of my interview with Neda.
But I made the decision to stop. And it was the best decision I've ever made because in my mind, I think that a healthy, happy mom is so much more important. I didn't want to miss out on this newborn phase with my baby that I didn't want to be miserable the whole time. It was the best decision I've ever made. I mean, I think self-care is super important. And I never really related to... Like, I just remember when I had my first, like, I would read stories online before of, like, women saying, oh, my God, I haven't showered in 7 days. And I'm like, oh, my God, is this really what it's going to be like? And yes. I mean, I was able to shower every day. Yeah, maybe, like, I'd put the baby in the little bouncer and maybe he would cry a little bit. But I'm sorry, like, I'm going to take a shower because I need it. It's really just about making yourself feel good and confident. Because that does even go into motherhood. Like, I really feel like when you look good and you feel good, at least for myself, I feel like I'm just a better person overall in every aspect of my life. It was not an easy decision. I'm not going to be like, I'm not just, oh my God, it was so easy, I just stopped. It was mentally hard. I did sometimes feel like, I'm not like a real woman. Like, I'm not feeding my child, but I did quickly get over that. And with the second, I already knew I'm an amazing mom and I'm going to make up for it in other ways. I don't need to breastfeed.
You know when you find the product, the one that completely changes your life as a parent? Well, that's Coterie diapers for me. Both of my boys have worn Coterie since the day they were born, and let me tell you, these diapers are in a league of their own. They're insanely soft, like little cashmere clouds for your baby's skin. And the absorbency, unreal. We're talking up to twice the absorbency of other brands. That means fewer middle of the night wake-ups and fewer outfit changes and way less stress. Coterie diapers are made with apparel-grade materials. Think luxury level softness, completely free of harsh chemicals, fragrances, or dyes. They are hyperallergenic, dermatologist tested, and made with totally clean plant-based materials. So none of the junk, no chlorine, parabens, whatever else, just the safest, most breathable diaper out there. And because I want you to experience the Coterie difference for yourself, you can get 20% off your first subscription order with code Churner at checkout. Just head to coterie.com or click the link in the description below. Next up, we have Amy. She is my sister-in-law, which is so fun. She had come down to celebrate her birthday, and we were talking about what I've been working on and what this idea has been brewing in my mind. And she was so supportive and obviously wanted to have her on and get her take. What I love about this conversation is when you're family, you don't always get the opportunity to dive deep into these conversations. So it was really fun to connect with her at this way. This is a conversation I've never had with her before, and it was fun and funny and wonderful, and she had some great things to offer. So here are my favorite moments with Amy Jo.
One thing I'm proud of with my kids is my kids know it's okay to go to therapy and to get help. Both of my older children have seen a therapist about things, and I think that's healthy. They see that we go to therapy. That's important, that nobody is perfect the way they are. Everyone is trying to grow, and it's okay to talk to somebody and to get help with things. Parenting is just hard, and nobody has the answer. I feel like I'm failing all the time, but don't give up on them. I think I love my kids. They drive me crazy. Parenting is the hands-on hardest job I've ever had to do. And being a teacher, I really thought that I'd be good at parenting. I thought that I'd be able to work, and I judged so much before I was a parent. As a teacher, I judged all the time. And I am a completely different person and a different teacher now that I've had kids. And they really are wired on their own. Like, you can try and teach values. Like, I'm trying, man, but they are just hardwired. And I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. And I'm just hopeful that my kids don't end up in too much therapy. I mean, therapy is good, but I hope I don't ruin their lives. That's my hope.
So now moving on to Spardha. She and I also knew each other from a past life of working, and talk about just a girl coming through for you. I had randomly reached out to her and was like, hey, I have this crazy idea. Will you please be on my podcast? And easy and immediately, she was just like, absolutely, of course. She lives in Canada, which I think is really interesting and another layer to add on to the experience of motherhood, which is what I loved about our conversation. In addition to that, she has 2 boys that are a little bit older than mine, and it was great to talk to somebody that's a little bit further along in their journey, and I loved her insight. Knowing each other pretty well during that time of work, and then coming back and reconnecting, this conversation meant everything to me. And I am going to stalk her to have more conversations like this. And without further ado, here is Spardha. You can feel the same intensity around 2 opposing feelings at the exact same time. That's literally what motherhood basically is for me at this point.
I also honestly believe that coming back, having a completely different perspective on what's important and what's not also really benefited me in terms of, what's a priority and what's just feedback for the sake of feedback, or what are the things that, are really going to move the needle. And I felt like that I know it's really cheesy, but the ability you can kind of do with your eyes closed after,
Yes.
that first year
Yeah.
surviving. Right. So I feel like that helped too, because, I wasn't getting caught in the weeds. I wasn't, part of the office politics. I just kind of did the work and left everything there when I could. I think for us it's sort of it's not personal. You want to do it a certain way. I want to do it a certain way. we can both do it differently. It's not going to hurt the child if, the routine is not identical to the T. Like we all talk about routine and how much it's so important for kids, but like, whether or not you put the sleep sack on after you wash their hands or before, like none of that really is going to make a difference. Well, this is fresh because I have started to practice this sort of thinking of I need to put myself in sort of the mindset of, the kids' perspectives. And so I wish I had started this practice sooner because there were a lot of arguments with the kids or, tantrums that probably I could have figured out and navigated differently had I just really like said, okay, what are they trying to communicate right now? Or what are they trying to tell me? Or like, sure, they're not respecting my, come here now, but maybe they're really into building XYZ and I need to approach sort of the tactic a different way. So that's why that comes to mind because I've only started doing that now. Like, they each want their own agency to make decisions for themselves and can feel very like, you're not listening. This is what I'm asking you to do right now. And kind of like shifting that narrative has allowed me to be a little bit more patient.
Okay, Corinne's interview totally just solidified and gave me this moment of like, this is exactly why I'm doing it. Her and I worked together really long time ago at the Honest Company, and we were both not even close to being parents then. And I loved her energy. We worked very briefly together, but we stayed connected via social. And then we both ended up having both of our firstborns on the same day, which is so cool. And so I was kind of following her pregnancy journey from afar. She is a creative and she just has incredible stuff that she puts out into the world. And one of the things that she has is a Substack. And a lot of it has to do with just essentially what we're talking about on here. Just like, what is this motherhood journey right now in this time? Not only in our lives, but in this time, what is that like? And she is so thoughtful and so vulnerable. I had goosebumps so many times during this interview, and she is just a light. So if you can, follow her everywhere. She has so many good things to provide, and it was an honor to speak with her. And here are my favorite moments from Corinne. The other thing is, like, it's okay to wish this moment away in addition to wanting to slow it down all at the same time.
It's both. It is both. It's for both. Sure.
Like, right? Like, it really is.
I don't know if it's like there's more of a taboo around these conversations or if people just don't want to open up about. I don't know what it is, to your point. That's why you started this podcast, and I love that you're doing this, but that shared community of just do whatever works for you and here are your options and here are the resources is so lacking in motherhood and in parenthood. And it's terrible. It was also a pivotal turning point of like, am I ready to put this part of my life on hold, knowing that it's going to be so hard to jump back into it if and when I decide to jump back into it. Because society is not kind to women who have, quote unquote, been out of the workforce, if it's like corporate America, right, for like 2, 3, 4 years. They're like, oh, actually, we have this great person who's actually the head of that department and is hyper plugged into X, Y, and Z. So I think making the decision to step away from a career was really hard because that was for my family, but it was also a decision that I had to make for myself. Like, I knew the reasons I was doing it were right, but the hard part was that I didn't know that I was necessarily ready to do that, if that makes sense.
Hey everyone, I want to share a game changer from my pre and post pregnancy journey, and that's Parallel. Founded by moms and guided by a team of leading OBGYNs, Parallel is the first and only female OBGYN founded vitamin company offering clean, targeted nutrition. They recognize that women's bodies have unique needs at every stage, and a one-size-fits-all approach just does not cut it. Personally, I've been using Parallel throughout my pre and post journey, and I literally cannot say enough good things about the support and how I felt while I was taking these supplements. Right now, my new obsession is the triple support protein powder. It is fantastic and it's been a dream to add into my routine, helping me feel really nourished and energized. So if you're ready to experience the Parallel difference, head to my link in the description and you'll get 15% off your order. Trust me, your body will thank you. So with Saena, what was really exciting, and one of the reasons I love to have her on, is this conversation is literally like the conversations we have all the time. And I love that, which is why at the end, literally I was like, where is my glass of wine? Just this kind of felt like our regular convo. The other thing that I've found so interesting is that she created the mat leave program for the company that we both work for, and she currently still works there. And it was just really interesting to see that and the work that she put into making sure that it was as fair as possible is going to help future parents as well as other parents that are going through it, me being one of them. And it was so thoughtful, and I just loved her authentic take on what this motherhood, parenthood journey has been for her and how she is balancing it out between having her child and what to do and then the pressures at work. And it was so interesting to hear her take on it all and where she is currently and how open she is to that next step, whatever it may be. So it just was such a wonderful conversation, and one that I'm so proud to have out in the world because it literally is like our true chat that we have. So here are my absolute favorite moments from my convo with Saena.
I feel like as a mom, I have more of a crystal clear sense of that's what society has in place, but that doesn't work for me. Or that's what society has in place, but that's not natural to how I feel as a mom to my child or to the family unit. And so it causes an evolution, and be prepared to feel a little lost in that, because that is exactly how I feel right now. It's a journey. It's a journey, and like I'm still going through it, and it's still evolving. I will also say there's nothing too disgusting to talk about.
Oh my God.
Or too dark.
Too much information.
That doesn't exist. I mean, like off the cuff, you could, whatever the topic is, not gonna scare. And that's the thing.
Not off limits. In fact, let's go there.
Yeah. Try to embrace it. Be aware of it. Because I think being aware of it also allows you to embrace it versus resisting it, feeling like something's wrong with you. And that is also another thing about postpartumness, or where everything is looked at as like something's wrong with you. You're feeling anxiety, you're feeling fear, you're feeling depression. Like, let's try to fix it. But I'm like, maybe that's just part of what it is. It's nothing to be fixed. It is the journey that we have to go through.
Okay, Emma's episode took me to my knees. I cried so many times in this. I don't think you can tell on the video. And I don't think a tear actually came out of my face, but a lot of welling up in my eyes for lots of reasons. And Emma and I know each other through our husbands. Our husbands are childhood friends and then lived together in LA. And I went to her wedding in Australia when my firstborn was 7 months old. And I was newly pregnant with my second. And her wedding was out of this world and just incredible. She has the most amazing family, and her and Nick's family combined, it's just like absolutely epic on epic on epic. And Emma has always kind of struck me as just like warrior. She is strong. She is so smart, so brilliant, has beautiful ideas. And recently when we got together, I had found out that she was pregnant with her second, and we were able to really connect around just this, again, mothering right now, what that means, how we balance work, what mothering is in Australia versus here, and just connect on life. And I love our convo and could not wait to get her on this podcast. And her story has so many layers to it. And it was so interesting on this platform to hear the intensity around what she has gone through in her parenthood journey. And I just couldn't be more privileged and honored to help kick off her sharing of her story here, and just the whole health system around women and what that means for everybody. So it was such an honor to have her here. And there are so many good little nuggets in Emma's interview. So let's get into it.
I think that the hardest part, and I don't know if this will resonate with mums who go through something nefarious, like, a health problem or anything similar, but I couldn't look at my daughter or hold my daughter for 10 days waiting on my diagnosis, because I just thought she shouldn't love me. She shouldn't be attached to me, because, like, what if I'm not here? And that was the hardest part in the whole thing, is like her, like, when it's just you or your family, like your immediate family, like, and you don't have something that's dependent on you, I think it might be slightly easier. But when you have something, a newborn that needs you literally to sustain its life, it was devastating. It was devastating. I tell and push and encourage people so much on this point, where it doesn't need to be a partner. It doesn't need to be the father. It doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to be anyone in particular, but having anyone who you trust to leave your baby with, even for an hour, just to like shower, is critical to set up before the baby's born. Because otherwise all you're doing is just swarmed in this newborn cycle. So that is my biggest advice postpartum, is to have some sort of support network in place, at least an hour or two a day, to allow you to do the things that make you feel human, but someone that you trust. You will get through it. You will. And like, better days are coming, but it has to be, as cliche as it sounds, it really does have to be one day at a time, because like constantly assessing the future really robs you of your current state.
What a treat this final guest of season 1 was. This is somebody that I had recently met who is local to my community, and I was just blown away by all the pieces of advice that she has, really from experience. And I think it was such a lovely way to round out this first season with somebody who is local, someone who has a lot of experience, who is a mother and a grandmother, and talking about some career pivots and the next acts and the next chapters. And it was really inspiring to hear her journey, and also inspiring to hear how, there is so much in front of all of us, including her. And it was very hopeful, and I really appreciated the opportunity to work with somebody locally. So excited for us to hear these final nuggets from Terra.
It's just so holistic for me just to dive in, take that risk. And because I feel like if I then I'm worse off, because then it's that, what if I didn't do that? What if I And so to me, that's worse for me and my personality. So I just have to go for it. And I try to mentor other people by saying that just do it, take the risk. What do you have to lose? And then you close that chapter. Now it's because you're going to have your first act, your second act, your third act at different ages. So now I'm going to that next act, which is very scary to reinvent yourself at 50.
Yeah.
Very scary. There's this whole new chapter act opening up, and it's something new and refreshing, and your life is going to be recharged because you're going to be literally doing something completely opposite from what you're doing.
Well, and that is it for season 1 of It's a Circus Podcast. Again, I just want to say thank you so much. The reception of this podcast has just been overwhelming. And I just want to shout out a thanks to all of you that are listening currently right now. And an extra special thanks for the people that are in this podcast, because this is the first of many and the first season of many. And you all took a chance to be on here and share your voice. And I could not be more thrilled and honored that I get to do this. Also, if you are loving the podcast, please share. Also, you're welcome to write a review. That would go so far. And if there's anyone that you know that has a story to share, please send them my way. Or if you'd like to share your story, I would love to have you on. So let's keep it going. I have a lot of exciting things up and coming. And here we go. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to It's a Circus. If today's episode made you feel a little less alone, share it with a friend who might need it too. We are building something amazing at the Turner Brothers Circus, an entire space designed for parents to find connection, laughter, and support. I'd love for you to be a part of it. Remember, you're doing better than you think. Stay grounded, stay real, and embrace that beautiful mess. And as always, the show must go on. Until next time.